Is Oklahoma bad? Is Oregon any good? Is Alabama overrated? We're going to talk about all of these things tonight, but I want to get started with this. I'm taking a look at my top 25, and I'm taking a look at the Associated Press top 25, and for the most part, we got the same teams in there. We feel that those 10 teams are pretty damn good, right? We will differ slightly on Texas, Ohio State. We'll differ slightly on Alabama and Tennessee. But for the most part, we believe that the SEC has the best conference in football, and you can see that reflected in the AP. I believe it's 7 of the top 8, right? Which is also going to underscore just how we're able to talk about the college football playoff and who gets into it, especially in that 5 to 12 range. Remember, 5 to 12 are all at-large bids, and 5 through 8 get to host home games. And this is the year in which I think everybody should want to host a home game. As a matter of fact, I would have loved to have seen the College Football Playoff Selection Committee allow any of those teams in the top 4 the opportunity to either have the bye week or to host the home game. And I think that would have been fun. You know, even if they wanted to have the bye week and then host the home game instead of playing in the bowl game, that would have been fun. I mean, Georgia would like nothing more than to play a playoff game at Sanford, but given that they are the favorite to win the SEC championship game, their last game of the regular season will be their last game at Sanford, and I think we're penalizing teams for being good at that stage, and we are rewarding teams for not being that good at that stage. I would like to see that changed. However, it does not take away from the fact that Georgia is top of the pile. Ohio State, I feel, is right there. Texas has the better win than Ohio State, and that's why we're talking about Texas and Ohio State in that spot flipping. Texas went on the road against what was a top 10 team in Michigan, even if they were overrated for the time being, and they spanked Michigan. They walked into the big house, and they said, this is my house. I live here now. You pay the rent, but I live here. You know what I mean? Where it's, can I stay tonight in the next 6 weeks? That's what Texas just did to Michigan. Showed up at the big house, and I saw the student section was empty by the fourth quarter. They had enough over there, dog. Turns out, it is really difficult for Michigan to play good football teams this season. On the one hand, yeah, we can make the Connor Stallion jokes, and we will continue to make the Connor Stallion jokes. On the other hand, I don't think that Michigan knowing the plays would have helped them against Texas. It was just a better football team up and down. Nothing that Michigan did was able to upset the machine that was Texas on Saturday. And Texas did not have to hide a damn thing from them defensively or offensively. They just knew across the board they had them dead to rights because they have a Quinn Ewers. And you don't have a quarterback. They expected Davis Warren to be Baker Mayfield. And I'm telling y'all, there ain't but one Baker Mayfield. They really messed up their quarterback evaluation because they thought that Alex Orji was going to win this going away, have this sorted out by the spring. And when he did not, you have missed on your quarterback evaluation. And now you're sorry. Tennessee hit on their quarterback evaluation. Nico Iamaleava is that dude. He has entered the Heisman Trophy conversation. They are a great football team. Jalen Milroe showed himself to be a great football player last year, even if Alabama, I don't think they're not the number 4 team in the country right now, but you hit on your quarterback evaluation. The same thing is true of Ohio State. As much as Ohio State fans still kind of got the jury out on Will Howard as they've only played Akron and Western Michigan, you understand now that Will Howard is the guy, and he's good enough to do the job. They hit on their quarterback evaluation. Carson Beck, another example of Georgia hitting on its quarterback evaluation. Go down the line, Brady Cook at Missouri. That's a hit for Eli Drinkwitz. They're going to face a real college football team for the first time this weekend against Boston College after playing against Class 5A competition for the first couple of weeks. That said, holding teams to 0 goes in Corey Batoon's good bucket, okay? They're number 1 in scoring defense. Again, it's Buffalo, and it's Murray State, but I still think that goose eggs are goose eggs. Ole Miss hit on their quarterback evaluation. Jackson Dart is one of the better quarterbacks in the entire sport. You know, you keep going down the list on this. In my top 10, in their top 10, every one of these quarterbacks is good. And if you missed on your quarterback evaluation, you have probably taken a loss, and embarrassingly so in some cases. Michigan, I mentioned, right? Clemson is another team that missed on its quarterback evaluation not once but twice, and they're having to pay for it. We're still trying to figure out what to do with Notre Dame. I have them in the top 25, but mostly because it's really difficult to drop a team from number 5 or number 6 out of the top 25, but they'll get that opportunity this weekend when they play Purdue, because Purdue's got to be looking at what Northern Illinois did and say, oh, we can do that. And we're at home. We're at West Lafayette. Yeah, we could do that. Avery Johnson at Kansas State is an example of Kansas State hitting on their quarterback evaluation. Utah at Cam Rising, an example of hitting on your quarterback evaluation. If your transfer quarterback has not been any good, you've known about it. Graham Mertz at Florida, if he has been good, you've also known about it. Cam Ward at Miami. If he's been bad, again, you've known about it. DJ Uiagalelei at Florida State. Talk a bit about them here in a bit, but I wanted to get started with this because I keep trying to tell folks it's not just that quarterback is the most important position in sports, let alone football. It's that having a great quarterback is the difference between playing on national television in October and November and not at all, right? For instance, Tulane seems to have hit on its quarterback. That is one Darren Mensah, who went for 218 in the first half against Kansas State, went for 342 in the game. They lost the game 34-27, and now that man is getting ready to head to Norman to try to give Oklahoma the what for and the how now. But that is an example of hitting on your quarterback evaluation, right? Same thing with Bill O'Brien. He looks at Thomas Castellanos and says, I know what I have here. I have a guy that can run it, and after his first read, I'll just let him go. And because he's been able to do that, he was able to beat Florida State, and they're ranked at Boston College. Syracuse, another example of hitting on your quarterback evaluation. I have them in the top 25. They didn't make it in the AP, but that's because, well, the AP is late. Kyle McCord has thrown for 350-plus in back-to-back games in wins against Ohio and a ranked Georgia Tech. Okay? That counts for something. Tight end Oronde Gadsden might win the Mackey Award this year. He is that dude at Syracuse, and Syracuse is basking in just not being crappy in football. I understand. It's Syracuse, but I'm going to reward them for not being crappy in football. I always enjoy it when teams decide that they want a good football team, right? Illinois making the top 20, Northern Illinois making the top 25 after beating Notre Dame on the road. I think that's a really great trophy that they get to hold up, and Thomas Hammock might mess around and be a Power 5 head coach next year. I wanted to start with that conversation about what quarterbacks mean and what hitting on your quarterback evaluation will mean for you, because I'm looking at Oklahoma, and I've had to ask the question, is my team bad?